Hello and welcome to Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business, brought to you by MegaPixx Media. Joining me today is Kelley Keehn, who is a best-selling author and a personal finance educator. Thanks, Kelley, for joining us today.
Always great to be back with you, Mario.
All right, well, you've teamed up with Manulife this week to educate Canadians on retirement and planning for retirement. Let's talk a little bit, first of all, about why this topic is such a big one for people that they struggle with all the time.
Yeah, and you really nailed it, Mario. It's such a big, overwhelming topic that people just feel so much stress. And actually, a recent Manulife survey paints a picture of how much stress Canadians are feeling right now. 51% of those respondents said that they're going to have to alter their financial plans and take some action because of the pandemic. No big surprise there.
Yeah.
2/3 said that that they would be so much more productive if they didn't have to worry about money. And that really tells me too, Mario, that they're thinking, it's beyond their ability to look after their money. So I'm so happy to be with you because the most important thing is chunking it down, realizing that if you just spend a little time and pay attention to your retirement, you can alleviate a lot of that stress.
So let's talk about the consequences. What if you don't spend time in planning or thinking about your retirement now?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, because it's so long term, it's kind of always looming over us, regardless of what age you are. And a lot of people don't think that even when they're in their 20s and 30s and 40s, the choices that they make affect their ability to save for retirement. So, depending on your career, your real estate choices, what type of mortgage you took out, even who you married, that is going to determine how likely it is that you're able to save. And of course, the closer you get to retirement, the more essential it is, because if you don't have that plan, it just means so much more stress and unease is kind of constantly working in the background of your mind. And that goes to those survey results of just feeling not productive because it's weighing heavily on your life.
Let me ask you the importance of starting early to think about this at a young age. And I'll bring up a personal example, right? For me, whatever I was, like 23 or so, started full-time work, right? Calgary Herald, and didn't even dawn on me, about getting into the pension. So I didn't get into the pension for a couple of years, right? And then finally I thought, oh, geez, maybe I should think about the pension plan because I'm going to be here for a while, right? And then you think, I have never done the math, and I don't want to do the math, but that's probably had an impact of, how much money I'm getting today, like from the pension, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I mean, here's the biggest thing, and there's a lot to unpack in what you were saying. You do want to start early, but you don't also want to beat yourself up if you didn't, because there's so
Right.
much that you can do. So you need to build a connection with your future self. That is the most important thing. Like, where will you be living? Will you still have a mortgage? What kind of expenses will you have? And, when it comes to expenses, you're not thinking about what your healthcare is going to cost 10 or 20 or 30 years from now, but that can really derail your retirement. So you might want to look at a benefits plan like Manulife's Cover Me Health and Dental. It's just going to take the guesswork out of trying to budget and calculate all those types of things. Now, to your point, Mario, about leaning in, governments and banks and companies actually want you to have a successful retirement, but you have to be the one to kind of initiate that. So
Yeah.
I love what you were saying about your pension plan. I talk to so many people that aren't digging into their pension. They're leaving. It's estimated, Mario, that $3 to $4 billion is left on the table every year in free money from employees just not taking advantage of that matching program at work or a group RSP. And then very lastly on this point, if you have a spouse and you're both receiving benefits, please dig into them, but also what they're costing you. Because let's say you have work benefits, you want to make sure you and your spouse aren't paying for those same things. And then just very, very lastly, remember too that if you leave your work, you're no longer covered for group benefits. So you want to make sure that that's on your radar.
Yeah, let's talk about money, right? You see everywhere they say the $1 million figure, right? You need $1 million to retire, comfortably or whatever, which kind of a daunting figure for anybody and everybody. Like, so how much money do you actually need to save for retirement?
Right. And this is so important where you really need to sit down and talk with someone like a financial planner because, first of all, there's so much, we're just coming off of Mental Health Week. There's so much stress when it comes to finances, and they're going to help carry that load for you. They're going to calculate, think of them, like flipping open your Google app, right? And your GPS. They're going to figure out where you want to go, what you've got to do because you might feel like you don't have any money right now, but you may have a better job in the future. You may be able to fast track paying down your mortgage. So it really, I hate saying it all depends. And you're right, that $1 million figure can be very overwhelming and have you just bury your head in the sand and not do anything. But here's something to consider too. And I talk so often to pre-retirees to actually budget for a sabbatical during your working years. Why? To start to lean into those hobbies that actually could become an encore career in your retirement because
Hmm.
you've got all this time in retirement to explore hobbies and things of that sort, but you might not have the money. And we also know that to keep your mental health sharp and your mind
Yeah.
clear, you need a passion to kind of, take you through retirement. And that doesn't have to earn what you did in your working years, but if you just earn a fraction of that, that can supplement your retirement income. My goodness, for all of your many activities and more. So there's so many things to consider when it comes to how much do you actually have to save and how much will you actually still work maybe for your passion, not because you have to.
Yeah. Well, personal finances are pretty tight these days, right? And we see costs of everything going up, food, gasoline, you name it, right? With not the same kind of level of increase in wages for a lot of people. So in those situations where their budgets are tight and they're squeezed from every front in terms of the costs, how do these people save money for retirement?
Right.
How can they save money for retirement?
Yeah. And I mean, part of it too, Mario, is it might just be a time in your life where you're putting undue stress. You're a little bit younger, you still have time. So it's okay. Like I was saying, you really want to lean into any kind of benefits that you have with your employer. Definitely looking at, you and I have talked lots about TFSAs, RSPs, making sure you're taking advantage of any kind of tax benefits, things of that sort that can go a long way. And then just really realizing too that that's where having a good planner on your side can help you really balance like where is it, when is the right time, because we know compound interest works to your favor when you're young, but also giving yourself a break that if you've got kids and a mortgage and a car and everything else that there is time to work for your retirement savings, but making sure you have that plan in place. Maybe it's as little as $25 a month just to get the habit in place, having that plan every time you have an increase at work, every time you have a tax refund, making sure that that money is going towards working for your future you.
Okay, last thing I want to talk to you about is how about people who are retired already? Obviously money can be a worrisome thing for them. They can concern about how much money they're going to have and, to with things coming up, costs rising, with will it last, et cetera, et cetera. What's your advice to people who are already retired um, and trying to live their lives, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, it's not just a final thing, right? You're retired and it's done. It's just
Yeah.
like your health, right? You
Yeah.
you can't retire from your health, you can't retire from your money. So there's some really important things that you want to do. You want to look at, what are the risks of your investments and really paying attention and digging into not just the risk but the fees and how those need to be adjusted a lot more than people in their working years. I mean, that can change every 3 to 6 months to 12 months. Like you said, the cost of things going up. Where's interest rates going? I mean, these are big unknowns. So you really want to make sure that your income reflects that. Again, if you're, thinking about working, you would be surprised if you sit down with a financial planner and look at, not just your savings and your pension and maybe government benefits, but just that little bit of extra income, how much of a difference that can make in those years that you want to travel and you really want to enjoy life. So now's the time to really get some help on your side. Don't be afraid to reach out to a financial planner. Let them crunch the numbers, let them help you calculate your financial future. And then of course, as things change, right? Maybe you have some new grandkids, you want to leave money to them. Maybe there was a death or a divorce or a change in circumstances. Don't feel like you have to handle that all on your own.
Yeah, I lied, and I just want to ask you one last thing from what you said. And do you think more and more people these days are working past retirement? You see them, the infamous Walmart greeter, for example, right? Like 7-year-old person at the doors. So how important is that, do you think, going forward for a lot of people to consider that option that, when you turn 65, that it's not done, that there's still opportunities out there for you to do some work.
Yeah, absolutely. And it could be that greeter, it could be volunteering, it could be Meals on Wheels, or what I'm also seeing, Mario, is like I said, if you could actually structure it into your working years where you took a sabbatical and focused on something that's a passion. Maybe you're a lawyer and you want to become a photographer after, or you were I don't know, a teacher and now you want to open up a bakery. Like, this
Yeah.
is your opportunity to do what you want, and it doesn't have to make a lot of money, but if it keeps you sharp, it keeps you engaged in life, and it gives you more than just some pocket change to travel or give
Yeah.
back to your grandkids or whatever. I think it's a great thing to consider.
All right, super. Thanks for joining us again today, Kelly.
Always great to be with you, Mario. Thanks.
All right, that was Kelley Keehn, who is a best-selling author and personal finance educator. This has been Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business, brought to you by MegaPixx Media. Thanks for joining us.